Hello, Saints. We're looking at the Gospel of Luke today. We're in chapter 5, and we're seeing the section there between verses 1 and 11 where Jesus is calling the first disciples. Now, he's already met them before. In other Gospels, you find where they meet him, they go back to Peter's house and everything. But here this day, he's out on the Sea of Galilee. And Luke, they call it Lake Gennesaret, but it's the same lake. And they're really at Peter's house. And they're outside talking, people gathering, and Jesus gets into one of the boats and asks that it be pulled back a little bit. He sits down and he begins to teach. And after he's done teaching, he asks them to go out a little further and drop their nets. Now, Simon Peter, is a little, he's tired. They've been out all night. They probably just cleaned the nets. Now they're going to drop them again. And so he says he'll drop them, and they go out, and he drops the net, and of course the net fills with fish. And so much so that the sons of Zebedee have to come over and help him. Remember, Simon Peter owned two boats, and John and James were also fishermen. So they had to get this collection in all at once. And it says that when they got in, Peter then comes to Christ and falls down on his face or on his knees. He fell at Jesus' feet in verse 8 and said, "Go away from me, because I'm a sinful man, Lord." For he and all those with him were amazed at the catch of fish that they had fallen. He had just come into the presence of somebody he didn't really know until just now. It's like, if Jesus rang your doorbell and you answered the door, you got a glass of gin in your hand, ham in the oven, whatever, your house is a mess. Are you going to invite him in? And Jesus says to them, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of where you are in your life right now. If that proverbial knock comes at the door, go ahead and open it. He's not there to put it in your face and condemn you. Remember, Jesus, when he came to earth, didn't come on a mission of condemnation. He came on a rescue mission. And he tells Simon when he falls down like this and says, I'm a sinful man, go away from me. He says, don't be afraid, Simon. From now on, you'll be catching people. Now on, you'll be a fisher of men. God has bigger plans for us. He knows what we are. We're not hiding from him. People make statements like, oh, God knew half the stuff I did. And he knows all the stuff you did. And then some. There's some things you probably forgot. And he's still calling you. This is evangelism. As we call people to Christ, we need to have that same attitude. We're not on a condemnation mission. We're on a rescue mission to build the kingdom of God. It says here that with all the fish that they had caught, they brought the boats up to land. That means they took them out of the water. That took some time. And then they left them behind. Now, I don't think they left the fish rotting. Some people try to say that, and we show that. But they left their businesses behind to follow Christ. That might have been enough money there to take care of their families for a while. So you certainly wouldn't let it rot. And Jesus wouldn't let it rot, I'm sure, because even after feeding the 5,000, he made sure all the bread and the fish were gathered up. Nothing was wasted. But the idea here isn't that they left the fish behind. They left their secular world behind, their day-to-day, and they followed Christ. From the profane to the holy. And he's calling you and I to the same mission. As we leave this stuff behind. Yeah, we have to make a living. I know I had to work at a job until I recently retired so I could go preach on the weekend. Paul had to make nets so he could preach and teach and provide for himself without having to be supported by others. He didn't want to get out there and be supported and then have them say, yeah, you did it for the money. No, he didn't. He did it because of what he believed. But there's a difference of making a living, preaching the gospel. Now, you're willing to leave things behind, to follow Jesus, to preach the gospel and build the kingdom. We see that here. They did it, and he's calling you and I to the same kind of thing. Are you willing to follow Jesus? Blessings.